$2.5 million, one player, one weekend. This is how Jared Bleznick did it, jumping straight into the action with a near 20k pot before the flop. Jared against a familiar face in Giselle 54. Blez on the button with the double suits and 2 to the steel wheel as action goes raise, 3-bet, then cold 4 and call. 10-5-3 rainbow. Action on the Giselle, who checks and then sees a bet of 14.3, as Blez now has the open ender. A call from our opponent as the turn is the Jack of Hearts, and once again Giselle, first to act, checks. Blez elects to check back, controls the pot, and realize equity on the river, which brings in the nuts by the way of 6. Giselle leads for a third, and we all know what's coming, as Blez blasts up to 68.5k, is met with the call, and ships over $180,000 to start. Going from good to better, we now find ourselves sitting across from pencil arms and just under the $1 million marker. Action on us in the button with the pocket 9s and suited connector, we raise to 6k. Pencil returns aggression and 3x it to 18k. Blez calls and we go to a flop. Well, here's the good. That's going to go to better as the board comes 8-8-3 and we now have trips. First to act, pencil checks, and setting the bait, Jared just does that as well. The turn comes in at a 9, and here's why I said we went from good to better, as not only do we have a full house, but we see pencil put in money into the pot as a lead of 18.3 comes in. Jared re-raises to a flat 44k as pencil calls off, queen of diamonds on the river, and pencil slows down and goes back to checking. 125k in the pot, Blez puts out a small bet of 22k in hopes of inducing a possible raise, but at the very least getting a call. Pencil does the latter, and 169k for Blez. You know, maybe from good to better was his motto for the weekend, as we stick with yet another hand against pencil arms. Pocket queens this time as pencil first to act on the button puts in a pre-flop 3x to 6k, only to be met by a 3-bet to 18. A call and a flop of 9-3 deuce with 2 hearts. Jared opens for 20k and pencil calls off. Jack on the turn, Jared takes the foot off the gas and checks, as pencil checks back. Well, here's the better as a second jack has hit the felt, and we've gone from pocket queens to runner trips. Just over half pot lead from Blez, who gets the value from pencil and scoops another over 150k. Alright, sticking with the theme but switching back to Giselle and a suited ace and some gappers. First to act, Blez raises to 1200 as Giselle returns fire to 3.6. Blez calls and flops the world. A gut shot and a draw to the nut flush as he's going nowhere. 4800 from Giselle and a call from Blez. Turn comes deuce and we have the double gutter now. Any 3s, 8s, or clubs around? Giselle once again starts the action, and with a full pot size bet this time, Jared once again just calls off, and as you might have guessed it, hits the 3 and the straight to the 6. Giselle switching gears, throws out a check, and now Blez goes full pot for a 51.5k bet, gets the call, and scoops yet another 150k plus pot. Motto still in play, $1 million in play, and pocket aces for our hero. Pre-flop action, nothing to be unexpected as we see a raise to 6k and a call from pencil arms. Started with a 1 pair, now we have 2, as the board is queen 5-3, 2 hearts. Pencil first to act, checks, and Jared puts in a bet of exactly 8k. Pencil calls, and with almost 30k in the middle, we've done it yet again.
Another one.
Ace of clubs turn, and we've gone from 2 to 3 by means of a set of aces. With the same action as the flop, but twice the size, we see a check, bet of 16k, and call. Blue king on the river, and for a third time, action goes check, bet, call. Jared wins this video's smallest pot so far, a measly near $145,000. First time this video, we start with over a million with a healthy 1.25. Pencil puts in a standard raise to 6 as Blez calls and we go to a flop. We started with a few blues. Well, here's two more as Queen 10-8 comes in. Blez wants to build the pot. 8K open, only to be met by a 3-bet to 22.3 as he calls off and sees a turn. Well, diamonds are forever, clearly. Flush and a redraw to the straight flush. Blez masterfully check calls an over $43,000 bet from Pencil. King of Spades river as we see a check once more. Pencil gives up, checks back, and what's this? 2 under 150k pots in a row? Uh-oh. 3 blues again. We start our next handoff on the button and a raise from us, this time to the usual 3x. Pencil calls as we see a flop provide trips yet again. Pencil checks and our hero hopes to trap with a check back.
Sneaky beaky like.
Bang! Deuce of clubs turn and the motto never fails. From trips to full boat we go. Trap works like a charm as Pencil now leads for just under 8.5k. Jared naturally bumps it up to an even 24k and gets the call. 5 of club river, and in an awkward spot we see Pencil return to his check. Over 60% from Blez this time, who gets the call and the pot. Well, we're trending down with our wins, so let's trend downward for the first time. Switch things up to the view from Giselle, with the Blez sitting on his shortest stack so far. Opponent's turn to hold the blues as Giselle opens action to a raise of 1200. Jared 3-bets to 3600, gets the call and goes to the flop. 9, 8, 7, all in an order and 2 hearts. Giselle sitting on the straight to the jack as Blez checks, bet of 3.8 and check raised to 19 from Jared. 4-bet to 64.4 and putting us all in, we call off and run it twice. Jack of hearts turn, 9 of hearts spade. What could Blez possibly be holding? You know the drill. He turns over pocket aces, but a made nut flush on the turn, and gets the full double on top as the second run out comes black 6, red 3 for the nut flush twice. New seat for Giselle and Blez back to a starting stack over 6 figures. Cards are dealt and we find ourselves with a beautiful ace and queen of diamonds. On the button and first to act, Giselle raises and gets re-raised to 3600. We see a call and a flop of king, jack, 4 with 2 clubs. Jared, out of position, leads for 5.5 and gets a call. Almost 19k pot and the turn is the 8 of hearts. No lead but a check, and now Giselle is first to put money in the pot for just shy of full pot. Blez, now with the double gutter, calls and spikes the nuts on the river yet again. Queen of spades and Broadway. Jared leads for exactly 100% full pot to the cent. Gets the call from Giselle, leaving just 1242 behind, and look at that. We're back to collecting over 150k. Just shy of $1.5 million in this video's largest starting stack, with a holding to match, pocket kings, and an ace of clubs to match one of them. Pencil on the button with the raise to 6 as Blez once more and 3s to 18. Pencil calls and the flop's a pretty one. 8, 7, 3 and 2 of them are clubs. Blez checks and is met by a check back. Queen of diamonds turn as we see Jared now bet to 50%. Pencil calls and the river comes queen again. We've missed our nut flush but still have our pocket kings with the queens on board. Downsizing a bit, Blez leads for 28k and gets the call, raking in an over 6-figure pot. Last hand of part 2, and I'd like to introduce a new opponent in Veni Vidi 1993, aka Dirk Goritz. Let's check out this last hand from his vantage point as he's an over 2-to-1 dog in stacks to start. With the suited king and queen of hearts and an ace as well, we see Blez start with a 3x. Dirk calls and eyes light up. Ace of hearts, jack of spades, 10 of hearts. He's flopped 4 to the royal and Broadway right off the rip. He checks and sees a bet of 2.5k, and with the flop nuts he responds with a re-raise to just under 7k, only to be 4-bet to just around 14. 5-bet back to 28, and now Jared calls and wants the turn. Queen of spades with a stack pot ratio under 1 to 1. Dirk puts the rest of his 36k in the middle, gets snapped off by Blez, who turns over his cards and shows trip jacks on the flop, become the nuts on the river as the 2 outer 10 pairs the board and completes one hell of a weekend run. Cracking aces, flop sets galore, and running outs for 6-figure pots. Jared Bleznick has continued to blaze a trail worth watching. Where? Well, for sure, right here as we continue to provide the highest stake action in some of the biggest games played. With more content in the works and CSOP right around the corner, be sure to join, like, subscribe, and get notified to all of our socials across all platforms. Only on Coin Poker.